You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
Welcome to Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. Each week, we'll take a deep dive into the world of volatility with in-depth analysis, trading activity reviews, strategy breakdowns, cutting-edge education, and much more. We'll also bring you exclusive conversations with the traders, researchers, and asset managers who are reshaping the volatility landscape. If it involves volatility, then you'll find it on Volatility Views. And now, it's time to take a deep dive into the world of volatility. It's time for Volatility Views.
All right, everybody. That music means it's time once again for Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network. Quite a bit for you guys to enjoy on the, quite a few ways, quite frankly, for you guys to enjoy the show. You can always get it delivered to your device of choice, your iTunes, your TuneIn, your Stitcher. Just subscribe to this or subscribe to the full network if you really want a whole slew of options content coming at you. We got it for you. Daily news, Option Block, this show, TWIFO, Trading Tech Talk, Advisors, all the fun stuff that we do. Interviews, lots of interviews hitting that feed all the time. So if you want to get all that good stuff and more, subscribe to the main network feed. If you want to just get this show, we don't hold it against you. Then just go for the subscribing to the Vol Views feed, of course. And, of course, you can always get it. The Deep Archives dive, if you want to do that, on the website or our app. Or join us live every Friday, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, via Mixlr, M-I-X-L-R. As far as I know, this show time is staying the same. We're playing around with a bunch of other stuff. I know it's confusing, but in general, this one should be staying the same going forward. And, of course, however you listen live after the fact, hit us up. Questions, comments, insights, all sorts of good stuff going on out there. These are interesting, heady, confusing times. Vol's up, then it's down. Earnings, vols kicking into high gear. We're selling off, we're rallying. There's all sorts of questions you may have about this marketplace. That's why we're here. Hit us up. We do like to hear from you guys. And let's see who we've got joining us on the old program today. Well, actually, looks like we got the Meatball joining us in a couple of minutes here once he gets done with his Costco run, whatever the heck he's got going on over there. The man likes to shop during the show. That's his thing. But also joining us, I do believe he's a rare second appearance within a span of about a month or so. Very rare here on the show. But here, you know, he bought his way back onto the show, so we can't hold it against him. He's out there buying AdWords left, right, and center for our content and to promote us. So we couldn't hold it against him. Welcome back, famous Dave of the, or I should say David Lincoln, the famous Dave of the Short Vol Show. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks very much for having me again. This is a pleasant surprise, definitely.
Well, we couldn't hold it against you. When you hear you're out there just buying tons of ads to promote our content, we couldn't hold it against you, sir. It seemed like it was a good timing indeed to bring you back.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and it's been an exciting earnings week as well. So great time to be on the show just for that.
Yeah, you know, you're the Short Vol Show guy, and there is some, shall we say, some Short Vol action happening out there. So let's get into all of it. It's time for the old volatility review.
It's time to break down the latest developments in the volatility trading world. It's time for the Volatility Review.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Vol Review, the portion of the show where we review some volatility, trades, trends, unusual activity. What the heck's going on out there in the volatility side of the space? Like I mentioned before, we're recording this and streaming it live noon, a little bit past noon Central here on Friday, August 3rd. So interesting markets we find ourselves in. Again, of course, we had the non-farms this morning coming in a little bit lighter than people expected. The market pretty much shrugging that off, though. We're still kind of on that bloom, that afterglow of the Apple kind of explosion. Apple saving the earnings world yet again. Everyone was waiting. What's going to save tech? Sure enough, Apple comes in. Tesla didn't hurt either, blown up to the upside as well. We'll get to all those earnings in a little bit, but all that's kind of still carrying the market today on pretty much an upside day. The tech-heavy Nasdaq's kind of hovering on S&P up slightly, and the Dow up a little more, up about 0.4% going into the show here. All that means VIX Cash taking a little bit of a break here today, off about half a handle, right around 1171 or so here. And as we're looking, before we even get into that, Dave, you know, we've got a little fun flash poll up right now. Maybe we'll get to it soon in case the market decides the answer for us before the show's even done, in which case it wouldn't be any fun. So we have a flash poll up right now. We're asking you guys out there, quite simply, is today the day? You know, a lot of you have been watching. A lot of you like your short vol trade, like your VXX erosion trade, and a lot of you have been waiting for that moment when it breaks the 30 handle. And so we have a little flash poll up there before the show. You guys can go vote right now. Add options will be up there for the duration of the show, maybe an hour or two. Probably through the close. So you got a couple of hours there to get in there. But we asked you, is today the day? Is today the day that VXX finally breaks 30 to the downside, that magical level a lot of you have been waiting with bated breath for? Dave, since you're the short vol guy, I'll let you weigh in here. What do you think? Is today the magical day, or do we have another week to wait?
Yeah, I'm calling that today is the magical day, and I'm saying it's going to happen right around that time between 4 and 4:15 when everything's sort of settling out. We might get a little teeny push more to get there. It looks like we're around 30.13 right now, so we're not that far.
Yeah, we're flirting with it. That's why I wanted to get it in now, because it could break at any moment, and this poll would be completely moot. Yeah, we're at around 30.13 right now. Got down to about
30.13.
Yeah, got down to about 30.10. That voice, that tinny voice, means we are joined by the meatball. Let's get it out of the way at the top of the show here, Mark, because who knows, it might happen during the show. How are you voting, and how do you think our audience is voting so far for, is today the day that we finally break 30 on VXX?
Well, anytime you mention breaking 30 on VXX means it's at a bottom. So here we are at 30.13.
So we just jinxed it, you said? You're saying?
Yeah, you guys completely jinxed it. Now, I'm long a boatload of the 30 puts that expire today, so I'm hoping I'm wrong. But I'm going to say not going to happen, and that's me rooting. That's me taking the opposite side of my position.
Talking against your book. Let's see so far. It's only been up for a few minutes for the show here, but so far early voting has the audience saying, hell no, agreeing with you, 44%. 33% saying heck yes, and less than a quarter, 23% saying, what the heck is VXX? Haven't you guys listening to the show? You're following us. How do you not know VXX? All right, well, that's a conversation for another day. But let's get into it now about the week that has been an interesting one so far. Dave, you're our guest, so we'll start with you. Kind of interesting one. A lot of things going on in the vol space. What caught your eye this week, sir?
Well, I mean, we just had a real nice day yesterday to hop on to a little pop from the day before. And in the aftermarket, things were popping. And if you jumped on to some sort of short delta on the open, you had a nice little run down yesterday, which would have been a nice thing. TVIX, our old buddy TVIX, has put in another all-time low today, hitting 35
Yay!
briefly. and UVXY flirting with 9 again, so not that exciting UVXY right now.
That's why I like having you on, Dave, because you bring up the names. You don't talk about it a lot. We don't talk about UVXY a lot because it kind of lost a lot of its luster out there. But I know you still love it.
Anymore,
you're one of the big fans left of UVXY. And TVIX, our old friend, we used to talk about it a lot years ago when it melted down. Ever since then, we've kind of looked askance at it. But, you know, it's a different vol landscape post-February. TVIX got to look at it a little bit different light now because it's kind of one of the last of the Mohegans. So maybe it is a more desirable product to use than perhaps it used to be just by process of elimination, if nothing else. Mr. Meatball, same question for you, sir. What's been catching your eye? Obviously, you're cheering, so I'm guessing you got some downside TVIX going?
No, I was just, that it's at an all-time low again. Everybody loves that. You know, what's interesting about today is, everything looks green except for the Russell 2000 that's off almost 1% again. And, that has been, this is one of those days where, I would not be surprised if we started to see like a 2 o'clock sell-off, 3 o'clock sell-off, because the trailers, the weak guys are the NASDAQ and the Russell, and when they've been weak, the market has not held very firm. So I'm very interested to see whether the Russell can catch a bid this afternoon, or maybe we do give away all this and VXX goes right back to $31.
That would be interesting. Can't say I'd be hugely in favor of that, but say la vie. These things happen. VXX has proven stubbornly resistant to that next level downside. I think your cohort there, the Rock Lobster, says we've been kind of stuck in zone 1 for a while there on the VIX futures, and that means, of course, I keep trying to get him to change his scale to include some negatives. So far, he hasn't indulged me. But it's so if we're stuck in that low level on the zones there, then the erosion, a massive explosion to the downside, probably not in the cards. But we shall see if our flash poll here comes to pass. Our old friend VVIX also kind of relaxing a little bit this week. If you guys know, it's been in the elevated kind of high 90s level, flirting or hovering around 100 for the better part of the last month, 95, 98, 100 in that range. This week kind of settling out a little bit, right down around 88 again. So that's a near term, the last month or two kind of low there. But, usually that index kind of hovers around that 75 on the downside to, 95, 100 kind of on the upside. When things get elevated, then things get crazy elevated. You spike to north of 100, 115, 120. Things get super crazy. You go beyond that. So we're clearly not in the super crazy portion of the curve. We're kind of maybe settling back down into the lower end, which also kind of speaks to maybe a bit of a volatility malaise here going on as we're kind of, heading in. Well, actually, we're in August now. So typically the dog days, most of the institutional vol traders out of France are on vacation in the south of France or heading that way. So not a lot going on usually this time of year in the vol space, but we shall see. You never know. Looking at the VIX futures out here as well. Got roughly 2 points between the front month and the AUG futures, right around 1170 and about 1365 or so coming into the show, at least in the front month future. And you got about 3 handles to the SEP from the cash. It's 1170 to about 1470 out there. So a decent little bid out there between the cash and the front few months here of the future. Anything catching? I know, Dave, you're the short vol man. Anything catching your eye out there? VIX futures term structure-ish.
Yeah, well, I think you pointed out the spread between the cash and the M1 future is pretty fat right now. However, we are kind of, VIX is at 1160, so to initiate a short vol trade here is, there's pros and cons to it, and I'm not really into that. It would have been nice to initiate a short vol trade yesterday and maybe hold it on through today, but Contango's fat right now, over 7%, and there's definite decay on these things.
Yeah, there may be some interesting option trades you could set up with, August trading at a 2-point premium. There's some inexpensive stuff that is in the money that would be a kind of an interesting play that you could do. So, like right now, the VIX is 1160 and I can buy the 12s for a quarter. So those are, the 12.5s are 45 cents. I can do the 12.5, 12 put spread that is entirely in the money and pay, less than a quarter. So that's something that is 100% in the money if we stay here. So if nothing happens, it's 100% of the money, and I'm getting better than 1-to-1 odds. So there are some statistical arbitrage, maybe you might say. It's not arbitrage, but some statistical game theory trades that you could make that could potentially work to a trader's advantage here. And so there, but going in and just dumping a future, I agree with David. I think that's it would be a huge mistake.
Ooh, game theory. I like it. Can we do a little prisoner's dilemma later? I'll lock you and David in separate cells, and I'll see which one kind of breaks first, and that'll be fun. as well. Let's get into the big mothership VIX and the VIX options, what was lighting it up. Another kind of quiet week, like I mentioned, even though we are in the topsy-turvy earnings of all world and post-trade war world. Still, volume-wise, things are kind of quiet. It takes a lot to really move the needle dramatically this time of year, and we're seeing the ADV out there in VIX options reflecting that. We're usually in the decent active times of the year, Q1, getting in some other areas, you're around 600, 660 ADV in VIX options. These days, we're about a couple 100,000 shy of that, about 440 in terms of ADV, and pretty much nothing really looking to break that this week. Today, we got about a little bit shy of 250,000 on the tape so far, going into a little bit past noon here, showtime-wise, on a day of a non-farms. Usually that could drive some paper. Today, not so much, kind of a bit of a resounding meh coming out of that one. The rest of the week kind of similar in terms of overall volume out there in VIX land. Thursday, 360,000. Wednesday, a mere 205,000 on the tape. For any other product, that'd be huge for VIX. Kind of nothing. Tuesday, 346,000. Monday, 288,000. Our call to put kind of hovering pretty much right about where it's been for a while, right around that 3 to 1, actually 2.9 to 1 right now. So slightly lower than last show, but again, that level, I don't really pay attention to it. Some people do, me, not so much. It's got to get a lot more juicy, a lot more jacked before I start, or perhaps the other way, a lot lower, which would be interesting as well. But right now here, it's kind of not really getting me too excited. In terms of, let's see what's getting you guys excited. What's the big hot VIX positions, the top 10 hot VIX strikes, what things are actually open and trading out there in VIX options land right now. Number one with the bullets, kind of the same as last week, the AUG 20s. 208,000. Again, these numbers kind of low because open interest is kind of low right now. Number two, the AUG 28s, 191,000. Number three, the AUG 30s, 188,000. Number four, our first put on the list, the AUG 14s, 161,000. Number five, the AUG 21s, $148. Actually, I'm sorry, flip that around. The number five is the AUG 17s, 152,000. Number six, the AUG 21s, 148,000. Number seven, the AUG 25s, $147 open there. Number eight, our second and final put on the list, the AUG 13 puts with 134,000, tied almost exactly 100 contracts difference with the SEP 22 calls, getting some SEP on the list these days. SEP getting a little active. 134,000, 100 less, 301 of the SEP 22 calls open. And number 10, rounding out our top 10, the AUG 29s, 118,000 open. They're worth noting, some honorable mentions that didn't really make our top 10, but they're close. And also kind of interesting, it'd probably be like a number 12 or so, are the AUG 40s. Size open there, about 108,000 open on that strike. So there is some upside playing around. Let's go see if I can find when all this AUG was opened up there. There were some big prints back on the 18th of June. We saw 17,000 trade then, 20,000 trade for about 30 cents. Back on the 22nd of June, VIX Cash was about 1377. Then we saw some decent prints, 11,000 or so on the 9th for 20 cents. So it looks like they've been fairly active, 10,000 or so on a clip for a while there, here or there. So they've added up to about $1.08 open on the AUG 40 so far. Not looking like that's looking that great for them. They're at a nickel right now. 35 more going up today. So maybe someone still is holding out hope for the AUG 40s. Again, they could be overwriting those two. I haven't had a chance to dig in, but still interesting. Also worth noting, 66,000 of the AUG double calls open right now as well. 55 calls, 66,000. Maybe there's a bit of a 40 double vertical that went up there. I didn't see some of that, but we shall see. Looks like 47 half doubles also have similar OI, so maybe some action going on between those two. I would hope that that's a second leg of a spread. I'll just be charitable, but you never know. VIX options is sometimes a house of mystery unto itself. About close to 6.5 million contracts open out there in VIX land, which if you know VIX, that's pretty light. Usually you see well over 10, 12 million contracts open, so we're roughly half of what a decent OI would be. About 4.8 million on the calls and about 1.7 million open on the puts. Mr. Meatball, anything out there in VIX land, VIX options land catching your eye this week, sir?
Yeah, I was surprised. There was a lot of upside. Even as we were dropping, there were upside call sellers. So, nothing crazy, but we did see some customers in just dumping the let's see, what was the big one yesterday? The AUG 27s got sold, SEP 35s. A lot of different. I'm seeing a lot of stuff get sold. I saw actually the more interesting stuff I saw was in VXX. But yeah, everything's for sale right now, and I was a little surprised, but apparently nobody's worried about August right now all of a sudden.
Except whoever got those AUG 40s. Maybe they were selling a lot of those. We'll see. Maybe. We shall see. It probably leans, at least so far, working out better for them that way. Maybe they got the AUG doubles, whoever's got those shortened as well. But you're right. Maybe we're getting back into that mid-2017 vol, quote-unquote, feedback leap. Isn't that what all the cool kids were calling it back then? Where everyone and their mother just couldn't get short enough vol. Dave, you're the short vol show guy, so this must be music to your ears out here, all this short vol love.
Well, I did see a VIX August 12, 16 risk reversal go up yesterday. It was like a 1/10, so they sold one August 16 call for $1, and they bought 10 August 12 puts for 10 cents each. And that went up, I think, 3,000 by 30,000 times. And
wow.
I, as far as I can tell, that was a delta play.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they hedged off some of it with some futures, but yeah, it's either a delta or some sort of gamma play for sure. Pretty phenomenal. Wow, that's a gutsy play.
That's interesting. Yeah, we've seen a lot of risk reversals. In fact, I've kind of been just kind of anecdotally joking that it's risk reversal season out there in VIX options for lack of any other large sizable trend outside of what Mark was just talking about, upside for sale. But it has been, it seems like, but if there's been a way people usually seem to have been leaning, it seems like it's the bullish risk reversal side, selling the put, buying the call. Saw that going up again today on a funky ratio. SEP 20 is going up 33,000 times for 81 cents against about 8,000 SEP 15 puts for $1.80. So doesn't quite work out the ratio. Kind of a bit of a 4-to-1. The premium wise doesn't really work out either, so it's kind of interesting. But that would probably looks like the way it went up. Looks like that's leaning in the bullish camp. That's kind of what I've been seeing, which is kind of interesting, Dave. Are you a fan of the old bearish risk reversal, particularly that way on that kind of heavy ratio these days out here in VIX land?
Well, I mean, I like the fact of buying way more units than you're selling as far as that goes. It looks like they came back today and maybe took a little bit of it off, because I see today them selling those 12 puts 3,000 times for 36 cents, the ones they bought for 10 cents, and then buying August 14 calls for $1.08. So if that's the same guy, he's kind of lagged into a great trade, buying the August 14, 16 call spread for 8 cents. And scalping a bunch of those puts he bought for 10 cents, selling them back out for 36 cents. So I don't know if that's the same guy, but there's a little action going on there in that little risk reversal.
Yeah, well, it's risk reversal season. That's what you do in risk reversal season, right? You trade risk reversals. That's the only thing you're allowed to trade right now in VIX land. All the other trades we saw that were really popular, kind of not really lining up right now. The 1x2, not really there right now in either direction. You haven't seen it going up. Sometimes it flips to the downside. People getting long the two of the put. It's kind of like what you were just talking about before there. So maybe a little bit of a funky way to kind of do that downside 1x2. But interesting stuff here, kind of nonetheless. Also worth noting, I know Mark's talking about everyone's dumping the calls. We did see some call buyers today. SEP 50s going up 2,200 times for a dime. Someone just gobbling up that offer. And I don't think, let me pull it up here. See, I don't think that was closing. Let's look at the OI very quickly. If my machine would scroll quickly with me. There we go. Set all the way down. Either way, let's move on to the other product we're keeping an eye on. Looks like we haven't hit that magical level yet, hovering right around 30.13. So maybe you're right, Mr. Meatball and VXX. Maybe we did jinx ourselves by having the temerity to post a poll on it. Let's see. Let's get an update on our poll. We're leaning still, hell no, with 46%. That number actually growing today. 31% saying, heck yes, we are going to break it. And still 23% saying, you have no idea what the heck VXX is. Who are you people? How did you find us? All right, yeah, VXX, let's get out into it right now. We're hovering right around, like I said, that 30.15 level or so. We're about a little bit more than half a handle lower than where we are last week. If you've been following this product, I know a lot of you, except for clearly 23% of you, a lot of you have been following it. And it's kind of hit near this level a bunch of times, and we kind of bounce off it right around that 30.5, 31 level is kind of where we've been for a while here. The ADV right now hovering, about 242,000 contracts out there today. looking kind of light, about $1.52 on the tape out here this week. The rest of the week, kind of similar. Actually, yesterday hitting the ADV, 248,000 exactly. Let's see, 2 days ago we had $1.58 on the tape, then 108,000, and kicking off the week with about 194,000. So it's light season out there in VXX. We're seeing similar stuff as well. I won't bother breaking down all of the hot top 10 options positions in VXX because we know they are dominated by everyone's pretty much favorite puts. The Jan, all that Jan put strip kind of lights up the top 10 out there. Mr. Meatball, you said you were catching some VXX trades were catching your eye this week. What was on your radar, sir?
Yeah, customer did this. I actually really like this. The January 10 puts, they paid a penny. No, I'm just kidding.
Tell me more. Those are a penny bid right now.
I know. You know who's bidding for them?
Is that you? I was gonna say, is that you? Every time we start this show, you fire up another 1,000 lot of these bad boys.
Yeah. So I'm all 13 on the tape today. And then I am, but the ones I really I was kind of interested. This is a customer did this yesterday, and I full disclosure, piggybacked him. He sold the August 31 27 puts and then bought the September 7th 27 put as a time spread for 15 cents. And I think I kind of liked his trade because I did 500 of it on top of it. So the open interest is his 2,000 and then my 500 on the backside. And then, yeah, Mark, the one thing that's kind of interesting about today is how busy September is relative to August. There's a lot of volume in September VIX options today. Notably, the SEP 20s have gone up 35,000 times today so far, Mark. Kind of interested in what that might be against, but that's busy.
Yeah, you're right. That was something else we were noting. In fact, in our VIX top 10, we have SEP kind of breaking in for the first time. So that's a sign that things are popping off out there in terms of what we're seeing out here in VXX land. I saw some funky prints going up. Someone gobbling up 4,000 of the AUG 60s for a penny. I can only hope that those are indeed closing because there's a lot of other strikes you can buy for a penny right now. But yeah, there is some size open interest on these AUGs to the tune of, let's see how many we got open here. There's about 10,000 open out here in these AUGs. So clearly we've got somebody lighting these bad boys up. Let's just look here really quickly. All right, there we go. Other than that, yeah, interesting stuff. AUG 25 puts is expiring on the 10th. Was another popular go-to today out here in VXX land. Kicked off the day with about 15,000 trading for a whopping penny. As the day has gone on, a total of 30,000 having gone up on that strike now. So I guess people maybe that would seem to be a resounding bet in favor of our poll here, which is maybe not today, but sometime by next week we're going to see VXX break to the downside and break hard. There's no OI on this strike at all. There's only 2 contracts. So I don't know, Mr. Meatball, maybe people are tired of waiting for Jan. They want to get their penny puts in AUG to the tune of 30,000. Are you piggybacking on any of those? Oh, did we lose the Meatball? Sorry there.
I had myself muted. I don't think that's a terrible idea. There's a lot of volume today on the 30s that expire today. So there's a lot of volume. Yeah, pretty decent open interest in August. The AUG 30s are like $1.30. It could get there. It could absolutely get there. But again, that little play I just called out, I think that's a better way to play short. You're risking. You can even do it delta neutral and just play the long gamma position. I think at this point, the way VXX is behaving, you almost need to have something that pays for itself. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels.
Dave, this 30,000 print. You're the short vol guy. Is this all you, sir, on these puts?
No, all but 10. No, I have no position in VXX currently. I did see all these size out of the money calls trading. I just saw something print at 121, the SEP 60 August 64 call calendar diagonal kind of thingy. Looks like they paid 40 cents to buy the SEP 60s and sell the August 64s.
Diagonal thingy. That's a technical term, folks.
That's a technical term.
That's in your Sheldon Natenberg book, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't like that trade, but somebody maybe is rolling out their protection to the upside, something like that.
That would be my guess.
As I recall,
rolling down just a couple strikes and rolling out. So.
As I recall, those AUGs
down and out.
Yeah, those AUGs printed a while ago, and we talked about it because it's such a strange strike. That I think it was what was it, August 64? You said that was one that caught our eye. They went up pretty size a while ago. It kind of got into our discussion of who buys all this upside in VXX. Clearly, a lot of people do. We were talking about it. That was on the heels of that big vertical that went up. I think it was at 70, 90, something crazy like that, back about a month or so ago. So that kind of kicked off this flurry of upside in VXX. Clearly, that person hasn't given up the ghost. They're rolling it to the tune of you're at about 7,000. They probably got more to do if that is indeed the case. So they're. Yeah, it's not all puts all the time in VXX. There's a lot of them, including today. People love their penny puts across the board in Jan or here in August with a week to go. Meanwhile, though, we're gonna keep on rolling into. We got some earnings popping off here this week. We should probably get some of that volatility as well. I don't know if you guys heard, Mark or David, but there's this fruit company. It's worth $1 trillion. Have you heard the news?
It's a big deal. Everybody's talking about it.
You can't escape it. It is crazy here in Bali. Apple, of course, kind of coming to the rescue of the market this week. You know, there was a lot of dire hand-wringing. Oh, no, what's big tech is done. This is the beginning of the sell-off. We're heading to a recession territory in big tech land. And everyone was kind of waiting with bated breath for Apple's release on Tuesday. Would they do it? Would they kind of snooker the market again and kind of look that way? Oh, by the way, we blew the doors off everything. And that's kind of what they did yet again. They sold more everything, more iPads, maybe not the iPads, but iPhones, even the MISC stuff like the watch, all well. The only kind of dark spot on their earnings was the, the Macs, the old school thing they used to make a lot of. Now really not that big of a deal. Again, you guys like this kind of stuff. We have great breakdowns of all the volatility for these big names and a bunch of others on the website, courtesy of our friends over there at Orats. They do these earnings move reports as well as now these new earnings move results reports. You can get those on the website for free too. And if you click through what they have, you can actually sign up for. There's a premium offering they have there as well, and you could check out more details. They do this. This is something you guys have been asking us specifically on this show for a long time, for years. Is there a great source of data for straddles, pretty much earnings straddles? That's what everybody wanted. And we kept saying to you, no. Unfortunately, there was one Goldman study from about 5 years ago, and that was really about it. The folks at Orats kind of took up the charge, and they've been kind of running with it. And looking here, Apple was closed right around 190 going into their earnings. They were pricing in about $6.70. They actually delivered at the time about a $10.12 move coming out into their earnings. So premium-wise, it worked. Obviously, we all know how it worked out afterwards. Looking at it today, Apple up another about 0.5%, hovering right around 208.5 right now. So, yeah, it's about 28 handles north of where it was. So net, if you held out for the rest of the week in long premium, that straddle has paid off gangbusters out there. Also, another little name you guys may be familiar with, also popping off earlier this week. This was Tesla. On Wednesday, they closed going into their earnings right around 298. They were pricing in, 18 and a quarter. And looks like we got the past. Interesting compared, they have a whole breakdown here. This is the actual earnings move report, so we don't have the latest numbers broken into that yet in terms of what they actually delivered. But spoiler alert, they were in rally-ho mode there again. In fact, they're up again today, another 0.5%, hovering right around 350. So yeah, they went into their earnings a little bit shy of the 300 handle, up 50 odd handles now going into that. So yeah, let's say they beat that $18 straddle pretty handily out there. We got breakdowns for hundreds of other tickers out there, not just the big ones like the Teslas. A bunch of ones you maybe don't even trade, like MTDR and a bunch of other weird ones on there. QRVO, everyone's favorite. So yeah, check them out. The earnings movie reports, or click through the ORAT's blog has that stuff too. You can check it out there. But it's pretty interesting stuff. Dave, I know you got a pretty active crew over there who tune into your short vol show over there. When they're not slinging VXX, are they paying attention to earnings vol? I mean, this week you kind of had to, right? It was kind of the big driver for the week.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly was. And my shows had mostly content about earnings this week because, as you correctly said, UVXY is like a real focus. And with UVXY at such a low price now and not that much going on, I've moved on to cover earnings this week, and chiefly Tesla, and also just to cover what's happened in the aftermath of Facebook and Twitter, and also Square earnings. So really exciting week, and I've definitely been covering it as far as what's been happening with volatility in those issues.
Any other names catching your eye outside of the big ones of the Teslas and the Apples, kind of the big market movers?
I was covering Square. I was watching Square.
I like Square. Square's a cool company. They do a lot of neat stuff, and they're definitely gonna be, I could see Fang turning into Fangs when they add Square to that list. Of the Dorsey twins, it is by far the better company.
Square, one of the pivot to crypto names that so far at least has worked out well for them.
They do a lot of cool stuff though, Mark. It's not just crypto's like the sexy headline thing, but it's all the mobile payments, the electronic payments, the empowering the sole proprietor and individual person to be able to take payments. It is, they do so much more, and
empowering
they're growing
the sole proprietor.
at just a
I like it.
breakneck pace.
You're someone's drinking the Square Kool-Aid, but you're right. Yeah, they were early on that tip before they were kind of widely available. Before you can go down to your local CVS and buy a dozen things you could slap into your iPad to take payments. Square was kind of one of the first really big ones, and everyone was kind of saying, "Well, what is this business you're doing?" And yeah, sure enough. Fast forward a few years, and it's working out pretty well for them. The crypto's not hurting as well, even though they're taking a little bit on the chin today. They're off about 4 handles. But that doesn't mean they're just since their earnings, they're pretty much just like they're unched since earnings. They got a nice little rally in them. They're kind of giving it back today. I haven't seen the news today on what's driving them to the downside today, but still interesting stuff. Mr. Meatball, are a lot of your crazies out there in the pit chat? Are they slinging Square? What are they trading these days outside of the usual suspects of your VIXs and your VXX?
Yeah, we did some fun stuff in Square. Apple is, Apple's going to go to 220 before all is said and done. It is on, it's on one of those. We surprised everybody. Vol was too cheap. I mean, Vol was way too cheap in earnings. I don't know who in the right mind was looking at that Vol and saying, we should sell this, because it was a steal at the level that it was trading at, into earnings, and then proved its case by continuing to be, pretty kind of cheap after earnings, and Apple made like a run straight up. It was pretty impressive, actually. Impressive
is one of the many words that has been thrown out about the Apple earnings this week. Just looking in really quickly, we're getting close to that 30 handle. It's like 30.06. Let's check in with our poll. And ironically, as we get closer to the 30 handle, the no's get louder. 50% now saying, hell no, we will not be breaking the 30 handle today. Only 29% saying heck yes, 21% saying what the heck is going on. At least that percentage is dropping. I feel better about that. We got a little time here. You got till pretty much the market closes today. Who knows? This could become moot any second, listeners. So if you haven't voted yet, get on over there and make yourself heard. Looking at people chiming in about the VXX puts. We'll get to all that in a second, listeners. First off, let's check out what's going on in the commodity space here as well. There is volatility in other products outside of the vol space and equities, believe it or not. Commodity vol, crude's been kind of on a bit of an interesting ride of late. This week, kind of settling out a little bit. The vol a little bit up from last week, up about fractionally, but nothing, right around 25.2 on our old friend OIV, aka the VIX of WTI, and then looking at GVZ, which is the gold VIX, right around 1077, which is about half a handle lower. You know, gold vol, it's kind of just falls through your fingers. It pops up, everyone gets excited for a day or a week, and then it goes right back down again. So it can't catch a bid out there to save its life. Let's see what's going to save your guys' lives, what you're writing into us for. It's time to open up and check our volatility voicemail.
It's time to share your thoughts and opinions with your fellow volatility traders. It's time to check the volatility voicemail. Make your voice heard by dialing 779-669-4VOL. Posting a comment on the optionsinsider.com, sending an email to questions@theoptionsinsider.com, or posting your questions to twitter.com/options. or facebook.com/theoptionsinsider.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Vol voicemail, the portion where you guys take the reins, ask us questions. Sometimes we turn the radar on you like we did with our VXX poll. Keep an eye on that if anything big changes or if we make the big move. Haven't quite gotten there. So close, but not quite there yet. Looking at what else, the actual question we asked you this week. We said, earnings season still in full swing. Which names are going to dominate your options trading this week? We gave you 4 choices. Apple, may have heard of it. Tesla, may have heard of that one. GoPro, may have heard of that one as well. And good old Cboe. We figured, it's a vol, talking vol this week. It's coming off on today, actually on Friday. I didn't see how their numbers did. I'll have to go check. Let's see if you guys are slinging that fun meta thing to throw into the poll. But you guys were all about Apple and Tesla this week. Kind of gone back and forth with the lead. Right now, coming into the final, the stretch here, we got 46% going for Apple, 40% going for Tesla, 8% going for Cboe, and only 6% going for Go. So pull up Cboe really quick, see how they're doing. They're selling off 1.5% right now, or about $1.50. So they're shy of that 100 level again, right around 94 and a quarter. So clearly the market perhaps not liking what they've been hearing of late. It's kind of hard to maybe argue with that when you look at some of the numbers coming out of OCC, in particular the futures volume. We won't get into the options. We'll save that for option block, but futures cleared by the OCC, which is predominantly VIX futures. There's some other stuff mixed in there now, obviously, too, like Bitcoin futures and stuff. But pretty much futures cleared by the OCC in July, down 43% from July of 2017. That's kind of been the trend we've seen pretty much since February. So the death of XIV and these others, despite what people in Financial Times and others have reported about, there's just no love for long VIX at all right now. I think we all know it's really kind of the unwinding of those products has really hurt the futures. And that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. That probably, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm going to guess that's probably what was weighing on the results and probably what's dragging down Cboe here today. Year-to-date ADV in the futures, 23.3% lower than 2017. So not perhaps the banner thing that everyone's been looking for. Let's see what you guys got on your brain. Mark, go figure. Everyone's obsessed with these VXX puts again. Let's see. We got a bunch of them. Piling in here. Let's see. Well, Nils has a question. It's pretty much, I think we already answered this, but this goes along your, maybe Mark, you can answer this definitively. You can say if you got filled. Let's see. He says, are you guys buying any more of those VXX puts? He doesn't say what strike, but I'll go out on a limb and pretty much assume what he's talking about. Mr. Meatball, you said you got 13 today?
Yeah, I haven't done any. I'm bidding. I've been getting filled intermittently. It's mostly a payment game. Did you walk through like how the whole payment thing works and why it works to my advantage to bid on these things?
We touched on it briefly. I don't want to put everybody to sleep, but you can give them the 10,000 foot to how you're getting paid to provide liquidity.
Yeah. So the nice thing is that I'm posting these on a exchange where I get paid to make liquidity. So when all is said and done, my net cost on these is almost nothing. And if you look at, if you ran a roll just based on where Contango is today, if you just kind of ran it for where VXX will be in January, VXX is going to give away something like $22 if VIX stays below 12. And past performance it reflects future returns, which it obviously doesn't. That but that is something why I like these puts. And really, I buy 1,000 for a penny. If I sell 500 of them at a dime, if I sell them back at a dime, that's a nice trade. And especially if I didn't pay for, if I got paid to post that liquidity, my, buying something for almost free and getting to sell it for something is a huge win. And that is why those are so attractive, a trade to me.
There you go. Asking the second question, which is from Roxy, who says, explain to me again how buying thousands of worthless Jan puts in VXX is a good trade. And we should point out, that payment play is not really open to your guy who's doing 100, through his retail broker. They're not getting that.
You might be able to get some. IB will kick back some of it to you if you're using interactive brokers.
Yeah, IB will. You're right. But most other brokers,
but most of them will not.
They're just saying, thank you for that rebate. We will take that.
Play. But just because something is worthless doesn't mean it has to stay worthless. And, if I'm long 11,000 of these and they end up being worth a nickel, I will have turned something that cost me less than half a cent into what is a nickel times 11,000 bucks. Not bad, right?
No, especially because
great to me.
Especially with the payment.
It sounds better than a kick in the jimmy.
Dave, since you appeared on the show last time, have you been lured to the dark side of these puts as well?
No, I haven't. And what's holding me back is that payment for order flow discount that he's been getting. But I love buying them way, way, way more than selling them. And I think it's a great trade for anyone to put a couple in their pocket. I encourage anybody, if they can buy anything for a penny, to put a couple in their pocket, because you never know.
Yeah, this is full disclosure. I have more than a few myself, but put them on a while ago. Actually, it's funny how this all started.
Rainy day.
Mark and I we were joking. We highlighted this trade going up. It was a while ago, and we were kind of joking about what a silly trade it was. And then I think both of us kind of mid-show kind of stroking our chins and said, actually, that isn't that crazy. And before the show was actually done, I think Mark had actually bought some, and that was kind of the beginning of the floodgates of it. It was a while ago. It was at least 6 months ago, I think. So
there's been a few of those.
It's been an intriguing journey on these puts, and our audience is clearly fascinated with them. 43 ET chiming in saying, "I joined the club." Well, there you go. Congratulations. Yeah, picked up a cool.
The VXX penny option.
I picked up a cool 1,000 VXX Jan 10 puts for a penny. Go VXX go, or should I say die VXX die? Yeah,
Can we call ourselves the penny traders?
Yes, the penny saver.
The penny savers and the penny traders.
This is a good lesson though for people too, Justin also, and how it'd be nice to have a little bit more transparency on how if everyone should be able to get that rebate back. That would be nice. In this day and age. But again, we're seeing brokers. They're scratching for money, so they're not in a hurry to give away any sort of profit source that they have. But you're right. If you're doing these, if you're doing them on IB or a few other brokers, if you're doing them institutional size, obviously you're getting that rebate. But if you're just working 100 lot here or there, probably not. But again, check with your broker. Maybe you can get some of that. Then you too can join the almost free puts club, which is what's better than that. Let's see. Blue Octane. That's a handle. Says he's chiming in actually about the puts you were talking about before, the VXX AUG 25 puts for a penny that people have been buying up. Actually, the August 10th 25 puts. He says I have a bunch of the SEP 21 and 25 puts, but he thinks these puts for next week, those are a tad optimistic. I 25 is an aggressive move, but then again, it could be a similar math to kind of what we're talking with the Jan puts, just in a much more compacted time frame. If they go from a penny to a couple of cents by next week, this guy could scratch. Actually, he's doing that for size, so he's getting paid to open, so he'll probably be all right. But still, it's not costing him a ton. I'm kind of with you. 25 is probably a bridge too far, but again, he's probably not looking for this thing to blow through the 25 hand. He's looking for it just to get reasonably close, get a nice little uptick, maybe to 5 cents, and then who knows, he'll be a happy camper So yeah, I guess VXX puts, our audience. Go figure. Our audience has all that on the brain. Let's see what else we got here. Some interesting theoretical questions about VIX-Q. I'm not sure if we'll see them. Maybe we have time for that. Elan wants to know, I think it's more like a comment than a question, but he's just venting. He says, my broker doesn't list the VIX futures alongside the options. It's damn confusing. Why don't they all just post them so I can see what I'm trading my options on instead of have to pull up a separate platform with the futures quotes so I can make sense of it all? You know, since we talked about this first, I think someone wrote in with this complaint a few months ago. Since then, we've heard from a lot of people who are in your boat. You don't mention which broker you have, but it is, I've done some cursory checking on some of the big platforms myself, and you're right, they don't surface a lot of this, what you assume would be very basic data. Here's your options chain. The future that those options are trading off of should be right there at the top of the chain or somewhere easily, readily distinguishable, so you know what the heck you're trading on. Obviously, you could find it. You should know it if you're trading these options, of course. But I think the brokers could do more to surface. I'm looking here right now. I like what LiveVol does. They put it at the top of the chain. They started doing that a little while back ago too, so they make it easy. A few other brokers have done similar stuff, but you're right. It's still not as readily surfaced as I would like. You could argue that that's maybe some sort of barrier. People shouldn't be trading VIX options if they don't know the future. Maybe I could see that, but I think in general, more information is always better than less. Dave, when you're out there slinging VIX options, what platform do you use, and do they make it easy to see what the hell you trade?
Well, I trade. I usually use Thinkorswim to at least analyze stuff, and like I can make the recommendation that grab a backup platform if you only have one, because sometimes either things go down, you get in a dispute with the company that you're working with, or whatnot. So I do what a lot of traders do, which is I have 3 platforms, kind of as a backup just in case. But I don't specifically trade VIX options, so I don't run into.
Which is why you're able to use Thinkorswim, because you cannot trade VIX options on Thinkorswim.
Oh, there you go.
Because of their, their deltas are all wrong. Because I know that there are ways to toggle, but the default is the cash is the underlying on Thinkorswim, which is a problem.
That's a big problem.
That's a huge problem.
The cash is. I haven't looked at TOS in a while.
And
they have the cash.
Actually, that's the problem with SPX. The cash is the underlying in SPX. And most people don't know this, but how many of this is a good question for our audience. You probably don't know this, but the underlying for S&P 500 is not S&P 500 options is not the S&P 500. It is not. It is the forward value of the S&P 500. So if you're trading something months and months and months away, then your at-the-money option is going to be entirely different from an option that expires today.
I kind of took off TOS because it was a weighty application. I haven't used it. I need to put it back on so I could go look and see if they are doing that, because that is redonkulous if that is the case. I'll have to go check that out. If that's the case, I'll make my voice heard to those folks over there. It's like, you guys gotta. That's like VIX 101. That can't be allowed. That's way worse than not servicing the futures. That's a whole other level of just absolutely terrible. Let's see if we got any other quick ones. No, a lot of meaty ones. You guys love your puts. We covered calls and VIX. I don't know if we have time. We got to do crystal ball. We'll table some of these for now. Good questions. Keep them coming. We'll answer them here, or maybe some other shows if we can't get to them here, as we keep on rolling right on into the crystal ball.
It's time to peer into the future and reveal what the volatility gods hold in store. It's time to look into the crystal ball.
Before we do that, let's do a final check-in on our ball. 30.05, 30.04. Looks like, we're so close. I think we were 30.03, actually. Looks like that was the low coming off here. So we're getting close to keep bouncing. Looks like Mr. Meatball is not correct. We have not jinxed ourselves, at least not yet. Let's see really quickly how the final numbers are going in our show. Still 50% saying hell no. Are you watching these numbers, people? I'm gonna retweet that out again just so we can get some fresh eyeballs on that, because I think you people are crazy. But hey, who am I to judge? 29% saying heck yes. 21%, what the heck is VXX? You should be listening to this show right now. It probably would be helpful for you. Speaking of helpful, let's see how helpful our prognostications were for VIX this week. As you know, my nemesis there, the Rock Lobster, he likes to penny me whenever I do. At least recently he had. That's kind of been his new method. He lets me go first and then he pennies me on the crystal ball. Well, I turned the tables on him last time, and I pennied him to the upside, and then he lost. And then we decided to go our separate ways, so I went 12.45. He went the more aggressive 13 1/4. He was buying into some of this tech wreck sell-off, I guess, and the vol generated therein. I was feeling a little bit lower, but not quite as low as where we are now. I win, but both of us were kind of a little bit off. I was about 0.8 of a handle off, so I'll take my victory over the Rock Lobster because it's fun and I get to rub it in his face, but not my usual kind of bullseye prognostication. Let's see if I can do better this week. And David, since I didn't really land the horseshoe this week, you're our guest. I'll give you pride of place. Could be a dubious honor though, so beware. What are you feeling for this time next week for VIX Cash, sir?
Well, I agonized over my choice last time on the show, and I watched all week and was devastated to be the third guy, the biggest loser last time.
It's a shameful segment sometimes, isn't it? It just really hurts.
It really was my focus for the whole week, and I went down in flames last time. So let's try again. I'm going to go for exactly 12.05.
12.05. Interesting.
So we'll see
what
happens. I like it. Yeah, it's funny. Once you do it, and people don't realize you do it every week how hard it is. So
it is.
So they can have a little bit of joy. That's why I like when the guests come in. Because all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, that's hard." We do it every week here, people. And my record's actually been fairly decent on this one. Kind of scary. Let's see if I can keep it up here this week. I shall go second. Mr. Meatball can. He'll take Mr. Rock Lobster's last place, so he'll go last. So we're at 11.62 or so right now. Listeners off about almost 0.6 of a handle out there in VIX Cash land, with most of the major indices now firmly into the green here. So the question is, we kind of been talking about this for a while here, how much more erosion can kick in. Looks like maybe the earnings worm has turned a bit. We're not so much in the tech wreck territory anymore, thanks to Apple and all that good stuff. So Mr. Dave's pulling us a little bit higher. I'm going to say here, but a little bit lower. I'm going to say 11.45. So slightly lower than where we are this time next week. Mr. Meatball, have at it, sir. Third place, go for it.
Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. David was 12.05. What was your number?
11.45.
Oh, man. Well, I guess I should bet against my book, right? So that at least I feel good if
somehow you win, yes.
If I win. All right, so let's say 12.76.
I'll be charitable. I'll say that's what the Meatball was doing or that's what the Rock Lobster was doing last week, too.
He was not.
He was
because he is a great contrary indicator. As soon as he starts to get really bearish, start buying with both hands because we're going up.
He's like the opposite of what Russell was back in the day, which he was just buying it every week. But when he did turn, when he started fading it, that's when you knew that something was going on.
Exactly.
That's when the trade was on. When Russell would turn. Russell headed out to new environs now over there.
I know he's off the Tab Group.
In the land of Tab. Kind of fascinating. So we'll have to see how all that unfolds. Meanwhile, though, unfortunately, listeners, that music means we're done. We did a whole hour. Crazy how it flies by when you're talking VIX and VXX and all that fun stuff. Looking here towards the end of the show, we didn't quite get there. 30.03. It's a mockery. But as soon as we turn off the mics, listeners, we'll be at 29.87 or something crazy like that. But say lobby, let's go back around the horn, see what each of us has in store. Dave, as our guest, the buyer of all the AdWords, we'll start with you. What's going on with you guys? And people want to check out your short vol show. Where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, come check us out on YouTube under David Lincoln channel or on Twitter under The Famous Dave.
I'm a big fan of Famous Dave.
And what is the origin of that moniker, Famous Dave, just for curiosity?
It was just a made-up thing when I wasn't even doing VIX stuff. I was doing gaming.
Oh, you were a gaming man? You were out there live streaming and doing the Let's Plays?
Indeed. Star Citizen, yep.
Star Citizen. Wow, that's not one I'm that familiar with. I'll have to go. Is that crazy Kickstarter one?
Yes, it is.
Really? Is that even out? Did they release that?
It's still in alpha, but you can play it.
Wow. They raised something like $20 million for that thing, right?
Hang up.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, 160 million so far.
I was off by a factor of 8. My God. Wow, I had no idea.
Is that you driving up Take-Two Interactive's the stock price today?
Good. I had no idea you could raise that much money on Kickstarter. Crazy, Mr. Meatball. Before you run off the Kickstarter to post a fund me, what people want to learn more about your VXX time spreads, or maybe they want to piggyback on some of your VXX puts trades? They want to learn more. Where should they go? What should they do?
Go to optionpit.com and check things out. We do a daily blog. I'm about to record my trade idea of the week, and a little bird told me I may be on a YouTube channel this week, maybe on a Thursday.
Interesting. So it's going to be the Star Citizen channel? You're going to be talking about this crazy game?
It is. I'm talking a guy that goes by the name Famous Dan.
I hear you shouldn't talk about him. He's a big competitor to our guest series. You shouldn't probably mention him.
Huge competitor.
By the way, make sure you get him to buy some AdWords for you, so that it'll be all sorts of good stuff. Little inside joke there. On behalf of Mr. Shortball, Famous Dave, aka David Lincoln, and the Greasy Meatball, Mr. Mark Sebastian, and indeed myself, let's throw the Lock Lobster in there too. What the hell? He's on vacation. Let him have fun, even though he keeps nickel-me in this freaking contest. And indeed myself. I want to thank all of you out there for downloading, streaming, subscribing, sending in questions, all the fun stuff that you do. We'll see you next time for more Volatility Views.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/The Options Insider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.